All right, welcome to this December 2023 edition of Demo Roundup. Hope you have your cowboy boots on. We are going to be taking a tour of several different new capabilities in the PagerDuty Operations Cloud. With me today are six fabulous product managers from across PagerDuty's portfolio. Julia Nasser, Jackie Liebman, Sean Noble, Sam Ferguson, Charlotte Sarfati, and Ola Adewumi. So excited to have everyone here today. Before we get into it, I've just got a few housekeeping items, as well as I'm going to give you a quick version of what you're going to see in more depth. It can just often be a lot to take in. So first up, just an important disclaimer. We are going to be talking about some capabilities that are in early access at this point. And so things may change. So just an important disclaimer as you're getting a sneak peek at some really fresh, hot capabilities coming. Next, I just want to sort of step back and make sure everyone's kind of level set on this is when we talk about the PagerDuty Operations Cloud in the kind of one thing that you would print out and put on a placemat, and showing some of the greatest hits from around our ecosystem, as this is a really critical part of what makes the Operations Cloud so powerful. We will be showcasing ServiceNow in particular. This is one we see in a lot of our customers. And so we've added some really interesting new capabilities to our existing integrations. Now, I just also want to walk through testing a little bit of some storytelling here. When we think about why folks use the PagerDuty Operations Cloud, there's really three key areas and sort of flows that we look at. And these are all places where you have costly, slow, unplanned work. And in the era where we're all trying to do 30% more with 5% less, it's really important to address where are these things that are soaking up our time and resources and getting in the way of our innovation velocity, getting in the way of delivering an outstanding customer experience. The first one is often what we'll call event triggered. And this is actually the one that we're going to be spending a lot of time on today in the demo showcase. But this is really where you've got all your instrumentation and sources of event data that are coming in, and they're throwing off all kinds of alerts all the time. And you've got to make sense of that noise. Then there can be the challenge of how many teams are getting involved with dealing with this and really getting to the source of the issue. Then there's sometimes challenges with, delays and how long it takes. Plus, hey, we wrote down in a wiki what we should do in the case of a P1, but then folks may not follow that wiki particularly well. And so there are errors and missteps. And eventually you resolve the issue, but you've done so in a way that's costs a lot more and has taken a lot more time because you've got the challenge of growing alert volumes. This is just a secular trend as more and more gets digitized and instrumented. You've got too many teams that are getting involved, so the interrupt costs is really high. And then you have these delays and errors as folks are trying to manually walk through different steps to make sure they're following everything that they need to. So like I said, we'll be spending a lot of our time looking at this today. Just to quickly walk through some of the other sources of unplanned work is even with all the best monitoring and instrumentation in the world, I have come to the conclusion after talking to many customers that it is a non-zero number of times in any organization that an issue is not caught by monitoring. So there is no alert. And it's actually detected and reported by a customer. And so this is a backstop that needs to exist because what happens is as you've got these high customer expectations and they're having a poor experience and they go and report that to customer support, customer service. But then if you've got sort of a disconnected workflow, what does that team do with that information? They go file a ticket. They send in an email to an email alias. This is something that I hear from a lot of folks that I talk to. Those are the two common ways that those teams have to get in touch with IT, engineering, dev, maintenance, whoever can actually address the issue that the customer is reporting on. And then in the meantime, what happens is in the midst of all that, the first team that sometimes gets pulled in, you then have all these escalations to actually get to the team that can deal with the issue. And if this is a high priority customer or something that's really impacting customers in a way that's going to cost you in the form of revenue, loyalty, then this is, again, you will eventually resolve the issue, but you've done so in a way that has cost you that customer experience, potentially the revenue, as well as just all the cycles and operational cost. So high customer expectations, silos between customer support, customer success, and engineering and IT, and then these costly escalations. And then the last area is actually just internal requests. One team needs something, whether it's part of their project plan, they need resources provisioned, or they're trying to get something done and it's not working. And so they put in requests and they're waiting, and then something has to go to another team and they've got to get an approval, and then another team has to get involved for provisioning. And again, eventually you fulfill the request, but it's been a very slow, costly mechanism. And the whole time that you're waiting, that's slower innovation velocity for those teams. And by the time it gets fulfilled, if it's being fulfilled manually, that's doing so at the more operationally inefficient way of getting that work done. So that's kind of the high level flows. We're going to look today at that first one where it's event triggered. And we're going to look through features starting with a global alert capability, global alert grouping capability that Julia is going to take us through. From there, Sam's going to show us how we've added some more capabilities to our incident workflows that's going to make that even more sophisticated. So that starts to trigger a lot of those processes that you want to follow. One of those, he's going to pull in Sean to show how that'll start to run automated diagnostics on a loop, and how the output of those diagnostics are getting pulled back into the incident. Then Charlotte's going to show us how part of this workflow is actually going to go kick off and create the ServiceNow ticket. This is something a lot of organizations depend on, a system like ServiceNow to just have that durable record. But she's also going to show how it's going to have this bidirectional sync around custom fields that are defined. These are the things that are important. You want to stay in sync across how the work is getting done quickly and efficiently in PagerDuty, and getting recorded down into that system of record that you use. And then finally, next we'll go to Ola, who's going to show us how we've added some enhancements to the integration with another part of ServiceNow, which is what's used by those customer service teams, including some rule sets that they can use. And then finally, we'll go to Jackie, who's going to show us how, as you're trying to keep people in the know and understanding so they can better support customers, how private status pages are going to get pulled in. So with that, it is demo time. And so first, I'm going to hand things over to Julia. I'm going to go ahead and pull up your screen. Are you ready? There we go. All right, Julia, take us away.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Dormaine. All right. So yeah, my name is Julia. I'm a product manager here at PagerDuty on our AIOps team. And today I'm excited to share with you our latest AIOps feature called Global Alert Grouping. So, and the way that all alert grouping works at PagerDuty is we group multiple alerts that are likely sources of noise under a single incident in order to prevent responders from getting multiple pages for what is essentially the same issue. So to date, alert grouping has always been within a single service in PagerDuty. But with this latest release, AIOps customers will be able to reduce noise across related PagerDuty services. And that's going to help them reduce that noise and provide better incident context. So let's go see how I set this up. So right now I'm in my service settings area in PagerDuty. I see this reduce noise area. In this case, I've actually already set up global alert grouping. You can see here that I have this set up on 2 services. Let's take a closer look at how I did that. So I'm going to go ahead and hit edit. And for those of you familiar with alert grouping, this page is going to be very familiar. But what's going to be new here for our AIOps customers is this ability to now add multiple services. So in this case, if I wanted to, let's say, I'm here on my checkout services, I know that there is a lot of concurrent noise or related issues across my checkout and my checkout infrastructure services. So I'm going to go ahead, select that. And what this means is that I want alerts to group across these services in specific scenarios. Specifically, I'm going to choose here when all of these fields match, in this case, host, region, and source match, I want them to group and be grouped together in the same incident. I also have a time window option as well to kind of constrain that anywhere from 5 minutes to 60 minutes, which would determine kind of a timeout of when alerts would or wouldn't be a candidate for that grouping. So that's how you set that up. Let's go take a look at how it works in action. So in this case, I have my checkout service. I have this incident created here with this high request response time. And the first way that I'm going to know that alerts are grouping across multiple services is here with this multi-service group pill. So here I see I have 2 alerts, and it tells me it's originating from multiple services. I'm also going to see that here in my impacted services area. I'm going to see that the source service, so this is where this incident is on this checkout service, but I also have checkout infrastructure involved. So I'm going to go ahead and take a closer look at my alerts. So here I see exactly what happened. That first alert came. And so that's what we talked about a minute ago, that the first alert comes in, it creates an incident. In this case, this 500 high request response time, followed by the checkout infrastructure service with this MySQL out of memory issue. So this one came second. So what this is starting to give me is an idea into what may have happened, right? That these 2 issues are related. It's grouped them together to give me that incident context. And that really sums up global alert grouping in terms of how do you set it up? How does it work? And for the next kind of step in this demo, I'm going to hand it off to Sam Ferguson to go over incident workflows.
Thank you, Julia. Hey, everybody. My name is Sam Ferguson, and I'm a senior product manager on our incidents team. And so today I'm going to go over incident workflows. And in the past, we've shown previous sets of incident workflows functionality. But today I'm going to go through some of our updates, many of which are what we're calling part of premium incident workflows. So let's jump in and see an example of what that looks like. So I have a number of workflows set up on this account, and I'm going to jump into this major incident response workflow. So as part of this workflow, I have a number of pieces that are already configured. I have a manual trigger, which allows responders to kick off the workflow manually from different surfaces like our web app, mobile app, via API, via Slack, or MS Teams. But I also have a conditional trigger. So just as a reminder, these conditional triggers allow you to define conditions under which the workflow should start. So here I've said that for incidents that match the condition priority is P1 or priority is P2 on a specific service, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to kick off this workflow. So this is for our checkout service. Let's leave that alone for now, though. I've also set up a number of actions here. So I have a Google Meet action, which is one of our new actions, which is generally available and allows customers to create a Google Meet automatically as part of an incident workflow. I'm also going to go ahead and create a Slack channel. As a reminder, you can do things like configure the channel name or specify which workspace should be available as part of configuring that Slack channel. I have another action here, which is creating a ServiceNow incident. I'm going to skip over this for now because Charlotte's going to talk more about this new action in a moment, but it's another powerful part of incident workflows. Additionally, we have a few actions for adding responders, which is going to add responders on our incident commanders escalation policy, and we're going to add stakeholders for our executive team. But one of the new and exciting things that I want to highlight here is maybe I've been working on this workflow, and remember, we're going to trigger this on all priority 1 and priority 2 incidents. But maybe I've decided that I actually only want to kick off this workflow and run those add responder and add stakeholder steps for just P1 incidents. Well, now I can leverage this new condition, which is one of our new logic actions, which allows you to define a condition under which a set of actions should occur. So here, just like in conditional triggers, I can define when this condition should be applied. So I can say here, maybe just for P1 incidents, I want to do a set of actions. So if I click save, this is going to set up this condition on the left here. And as part of this, I can now drag certain actions into it. So again, I only want to add this, the incident commander's escalation policy for P1 incidents. And I only want to subscribe my executive team on P1 incidents. So now these actions are part of that condition, which specifies they'll only occur some of the time, which is a new, cool, and really powerful building block that we're adding into incident workflows. I'm going to drag that up so it runs as this part of the workflow as well. And then I want to jump to one of the other really exciting pieces that, again, is part of our premium incident workflow set and is currently under EA, which is our loop until function. And loop until is similar to the condition block, but it allows you to define a loop which should occur. So here we're going to say that we want to loop through this set of actions until the condition is met. So the condition I've defined here is really straightforward. It just says when status is resolved. So what this means, if we were to just step back for a moment, is we're going to loop through the send status update action and the run an automation action every 30 minutes. So we're defining the delay between the loops, and up to 20 times until the incident is resolved. So again, this is really powerful. It allows you to control what actions are occurring, not just when an incident has started, but throughout the life cycle of an incident in a really meaningful way. So we're going to leave that as is. And then I want to jump into a couple of these actions as well. So one of the things I want to highlight, and this is our send status update action, which we've had for a while now, is one of our new updates, which allows me to pull variables from other actions into this action. So previously I've defined a message which says there is an ongoing major incident, but maybe when I send out that status update, I want to send the link for that Google meeting I've set up to stakeholders who are receiving this update. So what I can now do is, editing this action, I can say, let's make sure I can edit it. Uh-oh, my keyboard is not working. Here we go. So I can say there's an ongoing major incident, and you can access the bridge, and let's do, and then we can pull in one of our field references. And you'll see there's two types of field references. There are the workflow field references, which include a lot of different properties of the incident. But the one I want to show here is our steps field references. And you'll see that all of those actions that I had previously are represented here. So you can see the Google Meet action, the Slack channel action, all of those add responder and add stakeholder actions we just talked through. But in this instance, I want to pull from that Google Meet action the meeting URL. So I can say now, access the bridge, and then provide that link in that status update that's going out to stakeholders right as part of that message. So that's a really powerful way that you can start passing inputs and outputs from one action into another in a way where all of these building blocks start working together in a really clean and useful way. So then lastly, I just want to highlight we have this run an automation action too, which pulls in our automation functionality into workflows as well, and brings these two forms of automation together in a really consistent way that Sean Noble is going to talk through in a moment. But lastly, before we jump to that, I want to actually publish this workflow. So I'm going to click publish. All right, and then if I go over into my incident, which was created a minute ago by Julia, this is that same incident. I'm going to change the priority to P1. And if you remember, I'm just going to jump back really quickly. We had that conditional trigger set up, right? And that said, whenever there's a P1 incident, we're going to trigger that workflow. So if I go back and I look at this incident, we'll see that a lot of those steps that we just defined are going to start occurring. So you'll see that we notified some folks. We have kicked off that incident workflow. The major incident response was started via a conditional trigger. We created a dedicated channel. And if we reload, we'll start to see all of those actions appearing here. So just to highlight a few, we created that ServiceNow incident. Again, Charlotte's going to talk about that in a moment. We've requested some responders. We've added subscribers, et cetera, et cetera. All right, with that, I'm going to pass it over to Sean, who's going to talk through automation actions.
Awesome. Thank you. Let me pull that down. And nothing like having something not respond to just remind us all that these are some live demos happening here. So, all right. Thank you, Sean. Take it away.
Yeah, thanks very much, Sam, for walking through incident workflows. And what Sam pointed out is a feature called automation actions, which can be triggered now from incident workflows. And for those of you who aren't familiar with automation actions, it's our feature within PagerDuty for publishing and distributing automation to your responders and incident management users to trigger diagnostics and automation to reduce toil and save time when you're doing that time critical work. And what I'm here to talk about now is not only that feature of being able to integrate incident workflows and automation actions, but we have a new feature called automation actions log. So what this is a, I'm just going to change my tab sharing for a second. This is our runbook automation platform, formerly known as Rundeck Enterprise. And what I'm looking at here is a job that it's what we have it titled in PagerDuty is it will go and do a couple of health checks. One is a health check on RabbitMQ and another one on MySQL. And what's new here is this log filter that lets us capture log data in Runbook Automation and send it back to the PagerDuty incident and make it really easy for a responder on an incident to kind of digest and understand what's happening in this diagnostic without having to jump into Runbook Automation and scroll through kind of long verbose logs and try and understand what's going on. So in this case, I just have some simple, I just have it named like this step here is checking MySQL. What it's doing here is it's just grabbing the last 5 log lines. I can also do a regex pattern match. And here, if I wanted to, I could do some custom text annotation of trying to explain what this job is doing. So this could be like checking cache and kind of MySQL queue. So I can put this here for like not only the automation author's understanding of what this does, but this also will show up in the incident so that the responder understands what this diagnostic is trying to do, or perhaps you could put instructions here of what exactly where the responder needs to look, or what the data coming back in the diagnostic means, so that they don't necessarily have to jump into a runbook to kind of understand the system and see what's going on. So I think what Dormain was kind of foreshadowing is the demo kind of deities are not agreeing with me right now. So I'm just actually trying to get the feature to respond back and make sure have the information show up here, and I actually have one of them that worked. So that's great. So what's happened here is that it's run this diagnostic. It's returned back to the incident, and I see here that it's returned back this kind of RabbitMQ check of what's going on, and then I also see that I have a failed step, which corresponds to the alert that came in around like a MySQL timeout, and I can see that I have like a generalized error. I've kind of like put in the diagnostics that I should probably try restarting MySQL. So like this is where I also have an action set up already to do a basic remediation action. And what this does is we'll go in and clear the cache and kind of reset the queue. But I'm not yet going to do that because we're not going to yet quite resolve the incident. We're going to move on to one of our other product managers. Dormain, who are we moving on to after me?
Oh, we've
moving
got
on to Charlotte to talk about
Charlotte next.
ServiceNow.
But yeah, I just want to take a moment to sort of highlight how, just thinking about how empowered that sort of first person who might be looking at this is, if they're not a RabbitMQ expert, they're not a MySQL expert, right? But they've got those diagnostics not only at their fingertips, but it's already been run for them as just the quick checks to give them an idea of, hey, these were the things that we probably needed to do. And I love that, like, here's the descriptive piece that helps someone in, English or whatever language, kind of human language, like, what does this mean? What do we do with that? So I think that's super awesome. Thank you, Sean. Charlotte, let's see what happens next around that integration with ServiceNow that Sam alluded to.
Sounds good. So I'm Charlotte, the product manager for our ITSM applications, and I'm really excited to share with all of you today about the upcoming major release of our ServiceNow ITSM application, really centered around automating these incident management processes while giving customers peace of mind that they're remaining compliant within their business. So what I'll be demoing today is creating a ServiceNow incident as one of the new incident workflow actions, and also this bi-directional synchronization of PagerDuty custom fields to ServiceNow incident fields. Diving right in, you could see that the workflow that Sam ran, the major incident response one, you could see that this business uses ServiceNow in their environment to really comply with a lot of the regulatory requirements, meaning that they need to capture all of that data happening in other applications like PagerDuty to their system of record. And just to note, like maybe this business has struggled before. They've had a lot of operational costs or just a complete, waste of money. They kept getting hit with these compliance fines since maybe not all of the records were up to date in ServiceNow. And there was just a lot of manual cleanup that was needed before that big audit, right? Just to make sure that everything was logged inside ServiceNow. And now look at today. This business, they've created a ServiceNow incident as a workflow action and only for high priority incidents, which is such a huge improvement, right? Like long are the days that these responders needed to manually sync only these high priority incidents to ServiceNow to really prevent all of that noise, those P4s, P5s, from really cluttering their system of record. Moving on to the incident itself, you could see that a ServiceNow incident has been created and linked to the PagerDuty incident, again, without any sort of human intervention needed, right? So we really done this person justice by removing kind of that manual toil that they've had for a really long time in their jobs. Fast forward, as like the incident progressed, maybe this response team, learned a little bit more about the incident and learned more about maybe the customer impact as well. Since we know that the time an incident starts may not necessarily be the time when customers feel the issues coming up. So this customer, we've set up a couple of custom fields here that I'm going to go ahead and populate. And this is really going to sync to ServiceNow. And it's also going to complement their incident review process later on. So let's go ahead and fill these in. Let's say that at some point they realized that this outage was because of some sort of change. And at some point they also found out about the exact customer impact time and also the customer impact end time. So if I switch over here and I press save, you could see that the custom fields have been updated successfully. And then when we go over to the ServiceNow incident itself, you could see that PagerDuty updated all of these custom fields inside ServiceNow. And you could also see again that this ServiceNow incident and PagerDuty incident has been linked, knowing that the configuration item is the checkout service, the team getting page is an assignment group, etc. And also that the priority is there as well. So moving along, we've set up these bidirectional custom fields. So how did this exactly happen? With our new major release of our application, we've set up a couple of custom field mappings on the side with PagerDuty fields and ServiceNow fields. So this is why you could see that bidirectional sync happen. And if you wanted to create a new custom field yourself, we provided this module for you. So if you wanted to provision a new PagerDuty custom field, let's say probable cause, you could configure how it looks like. And once you remove the mapping, you could see that it got successfully created. And then moving back to the custom fields UI in PagerDuty, you could see and track that all of these custom fields being provisioned from ServiceNow is getting updated here. So this is what we just provisioned as the probable cause. And I also want to note that for for this incident itself, like this bidirectional sync, let's imagine for a moment that this was a service request that was created inside ServiceNow. And this request contained a lot of other details stored in these incident fields. So through our new integration version, what users can do is really port all of these necessary information about the request back into the ServiceNow or back into the PagerDuty environment. And I also want to note that for those who prefer working inside ServiceNow, they could still harness the full power of incident workflows and automation actions that Sean just demoed inside the ServiceNow UI. So over here, when we run a workflow, if you set up an incident workflow that's tied to some sort of automation action, you could run that inside the ServiceNow UI without swivel chairing back to another application. So to wrap up, there's a lot more goodness with our next major release of our integration that I'll dive into for another time, such as new integration health checks that will scan inconsistencies across your ServiceNow environment that's tied to PagerDuty. Because as much as we're doing justice to the responders who are on call and to minimizing that operational risk, that compliance risk in the business, we can't forget to take care of our admins too, and those maintaining these critical applications.
Awesome. Thank you, Charlotte. Yeah, there's so much goodness in this next update release for our integration with ServiceNow, making it so powerful. And as you said, there's times when things show up first in ServiceNow, and they can still make use of a lot of the powerful PagerDuty capabilities. But when we can catch things right off the event stream, what Julia showed, then at least you have the ability to synchronize it. So thank you so much. We're going to hand things over. We're going to stay kind of in ServiceNow land with Ola, who's going to sort of take us through what the interface is now for those customer service teams that are there on the front lines. Take us away.
Thanks, Domain. So on the customer service side of the house, this screen shows us Trip, who is a customer service agent that just signed into ServiceNow Customer Service Management. And he sees a bunch of ServiceNow customer cases that seem to be related to the checkout feature. After investigating, he confirms that the cases are related and on the checkout service. And so because the retail company has PagerDuty for customer service management, Trip can view the PagerDuty status dashboard from ServiceNow CSM to check if there is any related technical incident on the checkout service. This saves Trip time that he would have spent having to sign into PagerDuty to find the related technical incident. After identifying the related PagerDuty technical incident from the PagerDuty status dashboard in ServiceNow, Trip can link that incident to the case that he has received from his customers, and this will make sure that he is receiving updates on the incident in real time without ever leaving ServiceNow. This linkage would also provide information on the level of customer impact to the responder in PagerDuty, because that person would have information on all the cases that have been reported to customers that are linked to the incident. To make sure that in the future, any case like this is captured and escalated very quickly, Trip navigates to the PagerDuty rule set in ServiceNow Customer Service Management, where he can create rules that will be triggered based on conditions on PagerDuty incidents or ServiceNow cases. In this particular just change the login. In this particular situation, we want to create a PagerDuty incident when conditions on a ServiceNow cases are met. And so we would select the ServiceNow CSM to PagerDuty direction. And on the rule set page, Trip enters a rule set name that is similar to the incident that we are working on. And the rule set also gives him the option to create incidents or trigger the rule set based on when a new case is created or when an existing case is updated, but we also have the option to use both. And so in this particular situation, we will select that option and add conditions based on keywords from the incidents, from cases that we've received in the past. We would also add a condition based on the state of the cases that we want to capture, and also the priority of the cases, because we want to make sure that we're capturing and escalating cases that customers have marked as critical. We would also add an action to trigger an incident on the checkout service as soon as all of these conditions are met. And so we would enable this rule and save it. And so with this, we have linked existing cases that have come from customers to the incident in PagerDuty that the team is working to resolve. And we've also created this rule set in ServiceNow CSM that would make sure that we are capturing and escalating incidents in the future if we ever have this situation. And so with the team working hard to resolve the incident and this rule in place to make sure we don't miss any customer cases, I'll hand it over to Jackie to show us how we can involve more stakeholders with PagerDuty private pages.
All right, and before I fully hand it over to Jackie, thank you, Ola. What you're sort of talking about actually connects a little bit to that second flow that I talked about at the beginning, which is sometimes monitoring misses it, and the first place where the issue is detected is by those customers. And so being able to then run that rule set where, hey, any of these, it's a 500 critical new issue, go ahead and kick off and create that. So you're kind of covering all your bases is sort of the way that I think about it. All right, well, thank you so much, Ola. Jackie, tell us now a little bit more about private status pages and how those help with kind of keeping a lot of different teams aligned. We've seen how now the sort of the customer support agents, but sometimes there's other folks who really need to be kept in the know at a glance with what's going on to support VIP customers and whatnot.
Yeah, hey everyone, I'm Jackie, product manager, and for the purpose of this demo, let's imagine that I'm a technical support agent at a retail company here. So as you probably know, availability and reliability are paramount for customer retention and satisfaction. Industry best practices recommend regular status updates to stakeholders and leadership at least every 30 minutes to be sure the business responds with one voice. When interruptions in digital service used to happen before we had the PagerDuty status pages, our business used to experience a high volume of support tickets asking for the current status of issues. So with PagerDuty status pages, they provide us visual, real-time insights into our organization operations and the status of the incident resolution. As a technical support agent, I can now proactively and securely communicate real-time operational updates with our stakeholders directly from the PagerDuty platform, eliminating the need to context switch to other tools and essentially giving us one platform, PagerDuty, as the single source of truth. So with that, let's see a quick demonstration of how the internal communication piece comes into play with private pages. So unlike other status pages solutions, PagerDuty status pages is a tightly integrated and automated product within the PagerDuty Operations Cloud platform, allowing me to immediately see the triggered incident while also leveraging human-in-the-loop automation. So here you can see the pending request that was automatically triggered by the system, waiting for my review, which already has all the details in terms of the incident and the impacted service, in this case, the checkout service. I have the option to apply a template for a quick reusability that helps me improve trust and speed up the communication process, while ensuring a consistent way of internal and external communication across the organization. As you can see, the message box supports rich text and hyperlinks, which is a great way to communicate updates more clearly and easily, and emphasize instructions when needed. Once I go ahead and submit this update, it will be immediately available on our private page. allowing us to control visibility access to ensure only the people we want can access the page via single sign-on authentication without requiring a PagerDuty account. In this case, as you can see, I'm using Okta as my single sign-on provider. And it can be any other single sign-on provider as long as it supports OpenID Connect protocol. Once I enter my credential, I will be presented with the status page that this fictional retail company has decided to create, and I already see the update that I've just published. The end users can easily monitor the system status. They can subscribe to receive real-time notifications via email, Slack, and webhook. And they can also see and subscribe to any of the specific components and the business services that the company has decided to proactively communicate using this private page. As you can see here, the checkout service shows as impacted. So just to recap, in this example, our team was looking to improve proactive communication internally with our stakeholders and leadership and eliminate the need to context switch to other tools during outages. And now our technical support agents have one platform, PagerDuty, as the single source of truth. Over to you, Dormain.
You're muted, Dormain.
Thank you. And we are live. All right. Big thanks to everyone for joining us today. Just a couple of quick follow-up steps for folks to take some action here. I'll pop up that we've got the early access program that, some of the features you saw today are still in early access. Some are already GA. You can go ahead and check those out and start to make use of them now. But go ahead and sign up for early access if you're interested and curious in some of the other capabilities. If you've got other questions, comments, our community forums are a great place to ask questions, find other resources, and participate in some fun challenges that just deepen your understanding and knowledge. I'll also plug, we've got several great playlists on our YouTube channel, and including one of the automation release notes that come out just about every month. So there's another one coming up in a couple of weeks. And then shameless plug, subscribe to the Unplanned Show podcast. We do live broadcasts every Monday, and now you can catch the audio version for your listening pleasure, if that's how you prefer to ingest information. All right, with that, thank you so much. Thank you to all of my product manager friends for taking us through that demo, and for everyone for joining us today. Have an uneventful day.